Hey, YouTube. I get questions all the time about prepping, obviously. Friends and family, strangers. So I just get this one question a lot, and I just want to touch upon this because I think it really is important to make sure we have the priorities within being prepared. Now, obviously, if you have all your core foundations laid out, you're going to be asking yourself, like a lot of people, what should I start to build more of a surplus of? Is it medical? Is it going to be like massive water reserves? Is it ammunition or guns? Um, what I've noticed is if you have all your core stuff really, squared away, you really have two things that people are lacking in terms of really having the ability to endure long term. Now, outside of having a really good medical kit, especially a trauma kit, I would have to say number one, the top one that people really just underestimate the need for is going to be food. And this is very common sense, but let's be real. People don't have enough food in reserve. They just don't. A few weeks to a few months is what a lot of preppers have, and that's it. And of course, there's people who have lots more, and that's awesome, and you really should. But, when people ask me, what about this flashlight? What about this new axe? What about all the, and I'm like, well, how much food do you have? Because you're going to need to eat, man. And so a lot of times it's a pretty embarrassing type of response. They'll say, well, I only have 2 weeks. I'm like, let's go ahead and put that flashlight or all this other, secondary frivolous types of stuff. Some of it might be needed if you don't have a flashlight, but most of us have a flashlight. And you can go to Walmart for a couple dollars and get you a flashlight to hold you over a few months or a year until you get all your food, squared away. We need to have lots of food. 6 months to a year is kind of a target date for most people. And after you build that up, you slowly would probably want to build up your short-term supply even further. So this is the point. Number one, food. We need more food in our systems, guys and gals. And the second thing I'd say that would be lacking is skills, like real world experience of going into the woods, building that shelter, making those fires, cutting down, trees, saplings, digging trenches, practicing skills, first aid, signaling. Okay? And so these are the things that are lacking. Food and real life experience. That's typically the top two. Now, we could go through the list and try to prioritize of all the categories within prepping, but I think you get, what I'm saying. When you have your tools, you have your tools. You don't need 10 hammers typically, unless you have a big team of people. On a homestead, that might be different, but you don't need like tremendous amounts of redundancy unless you hold some of that back for reserve. If you plan on extremely long-term events and or for barter and trade. But what we're talking about is typically long-term disasters that the culture and the state and the government will recover from is what this focuses on in this video. And so, yes, I would say number one, after you're squared away and you have all your core foundations built in all the categories, and if you know what those are, because if you have my ebook or if you have spent some time on my channel, I outline every category within prepping. And if you have all that laid out, and then you need to focus on which ones you need to beef up. So food and skills. And I have videos on those top skills, and I have videos on food. So check out the channel. Just do some keywords so you can just search and, keyword searches throughout the channel here. Thanks for all your support. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get our winter so that the seasons will be in balance. You guys take care. Don't be afraid to send me messages or questions. I do appreciate it. It lets me kind of know where we're all thinking, what page we're on. And sometimes the questions may be really simple, but you'd be surprised how many times I get the same questions. And so I think a lot of times people are thinking the same thoughts as you. So if you don't chime in, we won't really have the discussion. And that kind of hurts everyone. So feel free to share your thoughts. Thanks for watching.